One thing we can all agree on is that the cost of goods has dramatically increased, and it's taking more of our profit regardless of how much money we have. When inflation goes up and the supply chain falters, we're going to pay more money for things even in like essentials, food, gas, things like that. Hi, my name is Annette Bau, your host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. I'm a certified financial planner and founder of the Millionaire Insider. For over 30 years, I have been advising and researching the top 1% of millionaires, and I am passionately obsessed with money, mindset, and the intersection of self-worth and net worth, and how the two connect and allow us to live fulfilled and wealthy lives on our terms. I'm a Midwestern girl who had a dream, began investing $25 a month 35 years ago, and today have a multi-million-dollar net worth. I teach the tried and true that only someone with over 3 decades of experience advising millionaires would know. This podcast is different, about much more than money. We talk about mindset, success, money blocks, worth barometer, and all aspects of money and topics from practical manifestation, along with real-world how-to and everything in between, with the goal of making your journey easier and more fun. Think of this as coffee, actually matcha tea, learning real-world common sense money and life advice from a BFF that you can start applying today. If you want to create a financially free life you love, you are in the right place, my friend. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. Today's episode is focused on people who already have money. But the insight you're going to learn is going to help anyone make better money choices and learn how to stop spending so much money. Now, if you or your partner has a spending problem or you're struggling, I really encourage you to get free debt counseling. Most major cities have it. And even if you're in a smaller community, there's probably somewhere in your state where you can get it for free. I also encourage you to go to our blog at themillionaireinsider.com/blog and go through a lot of our resources. And you can also check out our Wealth Academy at themillionaireinsider.com/TWA for the Wealth Academy. So let's dive into how to stop spending so much money. Recently, I've heard this comment so much that I thought it would be appropriate to do an episode. In this episode, you will learn how to stop spending money, avoid impulse buys, learn tips for saving money, improve spending habits, all of that so you can achieve your financial goals. Today's free resource is our 20 Millionaire Insider secrets. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/20MIS. Again, that's 20MIS. If you want one of the most valuable, insightful resources available on millionaires, how they think, what they do, research that's been gained over the last 35 years of advising and researching wealthy people, this is a must resource. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/20MIS. The insight I have learned, some of it even shocked me. And I can remember thinking, some of my clients are just slow because they single task. Little did I know how important single tasking is over multitasking. Just some simple secrets you can start applying today. So if you'd like this resource, again, it's themillionaireinsider.com/20MIS. That's 20MIS. For today's show notes, go to themillionaireinsider.com/20. All materials and intellectual property are copywritten by themillionaireseries.com. The information we provide is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide you any investment, financial, tax, retirement, or any planning or healthcare advice. All participants agree to hold millionaireseries.com and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved. So let's dive into how to stop spending so much money. Number one, you've got to understand your spending habits. Where do you overspend? And more importantly, why do you overspend? Once you can start recognizing patterns you have in your spending behavior, it's going to give you a lot of clues. Sometimes there are things missing in our lives. Maybe we want a relationship, or we are stressed out because we don't weigh our ideal weight. And what ends up happening is we feel down or depressed or upset or like we'll never find the right person or we'll never weigh our ideal weight. And what do? We go and spend. So we just got to be aware of it. And it's not to judge ourselves, it's not to blame ourselves, it's for awareness so that we can figure out what we need to do to make the changes that are going to allow us to not only enjoy our life now, but more importantly, be okay in the future. I encourage you to consider getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's kind of interesting that, when you get into your 40s, you start realizing that you can't eat anything you want. Now, I've always been like, I could eat pretty much anything I wanted. You start getting in your 40s, you're like, maybe not. And you get in your 50s and you're like, oh my gosh, clearly not. And one of the things that I have really worked on, namely my health, because I have some blood sugar issues and I've really worked to get my blood sugar under control. But in the process of it, I've also really focused in on paying attention to when I'm truly hungry versus just eating because I feel like eating. And, I weigh my ideal weight. In fact, I weigh my dream weight that I have not weighed in probably like 15 or 20 years. It's fascinating. Now, it was never like I was overweight. I was always within a 5-pound range, but it's just awesome to feel in control of my brain on eating and when I eat and feeling like I'm not eating just to eat. And whether you eat just to eat or you spend just to spend, it's the same issue underlying, right? Something's missing, something is not right. And I think one of the things that I found really helpful is to just get comfortable being uncomfortable, being okay that like between 3 and 5, I get hungry. So my eating protocol is I eat between 5 and 6, and then I don't eat again until about 9:30 or 10 the next morning. And then I eat from like 9:30 until 10:30. And then what would happen is I did that forever and that was fine. But then what I did is I was researching and listening to this expert who, ironically enough, is a life coach, but she knows a ton about blood sugar and insulin. And she was recommending that you don't eat from the time you fast, which for me would be 10:30 in the morning, until dinner, which is at 5. And it was kind of like, oh my gosh, it was the hardest thing for me. Like between 2 and about 5 is where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. And it was so weird. It was almost like I'm like, if I don't eat, I might starve to death. I'm not sure what I was thinking. I was so hardwired for it's 2 or 3 o'clock. I'm hungry. I have a hunger urge, and I really am hungry. Going and eating something versus saying, I don't have to. I can sit in it. And even if I am hungry. And the interesting thing that she recommends, which is so powerful, is you don't do anything. You don't go drink water. You don't do anything to avoid the feeling you have. That has been so powerful. And while my issue is, and thankfully has never been overspending, whether it's overeating, overspending, sex, whatever it is, gambling, whatever issues people have, it still comes from the same source. So I encourage you to just try getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and you'll see that you're going to live. Like, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to float away because I didn't eat for 2 hours. And then some practical things are tracking your expenses, really being clear on your spending plan, looking at how you budget your money and that you have a clear plan and that you are consistent with what you do. All of those things are going to help immensely when it comes to not overspending. So let's start by identifying what spending habits you may need to address, because we all have different ones, and just being aware of what yours are is going to help you. So, number one, do you have problems with impulse purchases? Meaning you see something and you have to buy it. You don't have an ability to pause. Or possibly you have an issue with shopping online or making credit card purchases. It's so much easier for many of us to use a credit card than it is to pay cash. What about grocery store spending? I share a story that I went to the grocery store just to do a test for my membership, and I had $200. I got up to the checkout counter. And the woman's like, "Are you okay? You look so stressed out." I go, "I have never felt so stressed out in my life," because I was like weighing the tomatoes. Like, I'm not really good. I'm good at certain things, knowing like how much they cost, but not when it comes to like vegetables. I'm really bad. And I was so stressed because I remember weighing everything and I ended up spending $198 and I had $200. But when you have a credit card, it's super easy, right? And if you know anything about me, I don't do our grocery shopping because I'm really bad. I go to one store about every 2 weeks, which is like this health food store. And I let my husband go, but I always give him 3 strikes. I'm like, if you say one more time about, like, do you really need that? Are you spending too much money? I'm like, you're going to go sit in the car. That's kind of our joke because he's so good at it. But he's always like, oh, he wants to go with me. I'm like, you can go with me, but I don't need your input. And I buy the things I want to buy and I buy the things that I need. He will buy just what's on the list. I don't like to just buy one. If I need macadamia nuts, I'm going to always buy two because I don't want to have just one and then be without them. So we have a little different philosophy in that. But that said, whoever is doing your grocery store shopping needs to have that discipline. It would not be me. I'm not good at that. And then I go to the grocery store when I'm hungry, which is also terrible. Another issue is shopping without a shopping list. That is disastrous. Spending money that's earmarked for savings on want-based expenses, meaning the things you want to do, but not that you really need. Not tracking your spending, spending more money than you earn, possibly a gym membership or some other type of membership that you're not using or you can't afford. Another thing you may need to do that's a little off track from this, but possibly set up a high interest bank account. Meaning if you have money in a savings that's not earning any money, maybe you just go and set up a bank account where you're earning more money. Always check on the guarantees. Make sure the money is guaranteed and you've got to check it because there is a lot of conflicting information and not all accounts are guaranteed. And you do want your emergency reserve, ideally in an account that's guaranteed. All right, number 2, create a solid foundation. The first thing you want to do is set financial goals, and they should include short-term and long-term objectives. When you have a plan and you're clear on your desired destination, where you want to end, it's so much easier to stay on course and achieve your goals because you're focused on what you want and how you're going to feel when you get there versus how you're feeling right now in the moment. Another insight to stop overspending is to create a plan to start saving money. I began saving $25 a month when I had no extra money. And that simple habit has made all the difference in my life. And I am convinced that because I had the discipline to save that little of amount of money when I had none, it just gave me the foundation to go on to not only save a lot more money, but really accumulate the wealth I desired. And even now, having reached my financial goal, which is a crazy goal. It wasn't even really a goal. It was more like a goal I set because I never thought I could reach it. It wasn't like I said, oh, I just want to have this many millions. When I hit it, it's like nothing changed. We still watch what we spend. And the funny thing about it is our kids can't really understand it. It's like, you have all this money. And I'm like, first of all, you don't know exactly how much money I have, but it's just so interesting how when you have smart kids, there are advantages and disadvantages. Well, let's just calculate the real estate you own. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. But I'm like, let's calculate the amount of just insurance and taxes we pay on what we own. People just don't get the big picture of just because you have a high net worth does not mean you still don't watch your money. And everyone, regardless of how much money they have, has a finite amount. So you just got to be aware of that. But what we focus on is going to expand. So by focusing in on saving money, it's going to be a better option than focusing in on spending it. So just be aware of that. 3, you want to eliminate unnecessary expenses. So the key to learning how to stop spending so much money is to create a budget or a spending plan that you stick with. Now, if it seems overwhelming or you start feeling anxious, just commit to 30 days. It doesn't have to be forever. Just commit to 30 days. Once you start doing it and you start seeing results, it's amazing what happens. And it takes about 18 to 254 days to change a habit, on average 66 days. So once you do it for 30 days, then you've got another 30, and you're going to be so much further ahead than you could ever imagine. So just be easy on yourself and just start with a short-term commitment. One of the first steps is to master your personal finances. And that requires that you know what your monthly expenses are, specifically need expenses. And examples are savings for your emergency fund, retirement funding, your rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, credit card or debt payments if you have any. And then you want to deposit all income into a savings account. And then once or twice a month, you're going to transfer that over to your checking account to pay your need expenses. At the end of the month, you're going to determine how much you have left. Now, you've got to decide how much money you are going to be able to spend on your want expenses and how much money of that you're going to save. Now, if you have trouble determining how much you need to save to ensure you're going to secure your retirement, I recommend you hire a financial planner or qualified money coach. It will be money that's well spent. Reduce your grocery bill. One of the fast and easiest ways to stop overspending is to better manage your food bill. So, number one, create a meal plan. Make one meal and then freeze two meals for future. That's what we do. We'll make a big meal and we eat one and we freeze one or two for the future. If our boys are eating with us, that doesn't always work. But if they're not, it does. Always create and use a shopping list before you go shopping for anything, including food, and then only buy what's on that list. Now, as far as grocery budgeting, there's a lot of people who give a lot of tips on cost-effective meal planning, and that's an easy way to avoid overspending. Eating healthy foods, especially if you're cooking them, you can save a lot of money. So I encourage you to consider that. And then some tips for dining out. You want to balance your social life and dining out without breaking the bank. Share a meal. One of the advantages of sharing a meal is, number one, you don't overeat, so it helps with your weight. And number two, you save money. The other things you can do is you can eat before you go out. I know people who eat before they go out, or they will just order an appetizer or something small. Set a spending limit. How much money can you spend in this category? And then know the price before you order something. And I'm going to give you an example that just, so frustrating to me. So we took my son out for his birthday, and it was an expensive restaurant. The bill was hundreds of dollars. And I decided to have a glass of wine. And so the gentleman brought out two samples, and they were both okay. Neither of them were that great. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I can live with this one. So I order a glass of it. And I ended up ordering a second glass. It was $37 a glass. I paid $74 for that wine. Now, if it would have been like a to die for wine that I just couldn't live without, that would have been fine. But I was just floored. First of all, I thought that was inappropriate that he did not tell me how much it was. And secondly, it wasn't that good. Like, I've drank some good wine and it was not that good. So just start paying attention. I was talking to some of my other wealthy friends, and every single one agreed they would have been livid. And they said, yeah, I always want to know the price before I order, because a lot of times, they want your bill to be higher because then they make more money. So for whatever reason it was, he didn't let me know that, and I was a little frustrated. Number 5, you've got to get on the same page as your partner. If you have challenges in the financial area with your partner, I encourage you to create agreements about money with them, ideally before you get married. The agreement may include how much money you each can spend on want expenses, or you jointly can. What amount of a purchase do you agree to consult with your partner before making? Like, one of the things me and my husband do, if we're going to make a big purchase, we just discuss it with each other. And it could even be a purchase of something that's like $200 to $500, which some people may not think that's a lot. But if we're going to spend money on something, we almost always talk with each other. I think that having open communication and getting a second opinion is always a good idea. And it's going to help you to avoid impulse spending. And it does a lot for your relationship. A lot of relationships end because one partner is a spendthrift. Now, if you are married to a spendthrift and it's impacting your financial future, you may need to explore legal solutions to protect your finances and your credit score. So sometimes when you have partners that overspend, you don't even know it. But some of the things you can do is make sure you always pay attention to what you're signing for and that you are not allowing that partner to take out credit cards or loans that your name's on. In one of the cases that I learned about in some of my research, the partner who was a spendthrift was using the debit card on their joint account and taking out cash. And there was no knowledge of where this cash was going, but it was wreaking havoc on their finances. So the partner that was not the spendthrift basically just set up their own account. So they had a separate account and were not always worrying that there was no money in the account. Now, if you're in a community property state, this is really important. You may need to get legal counsel. Don't sign anything that puts you on the hook. Credit cards, loans, etc. That can cause problems. All right, 6, how to stop spending so much money with the 3-day rule. The 3-day rule is designed to help you delay gratification. If you or your partner is driven by impulse buys, that dopamine, those pleasure hits, the 3-day rule is priceless. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/8 if you want to learn more about dopamine. But while it often feels good in the moment to buy something, long-term, it can wreak financial disaster. If you see something in a store or while shopping online, do not purchase it. You wait 3 days. Confirm, number one, you can afford it and that you need it. If you don't need it and you really want it and can afford it, then you purchase it. This practice has helped thousands of people better manage their money. If you notice you impulse buy either from your social media feed or when you're online, commit to applying the 3-day rule and removing your credit card from your iPhone or your computer. That is going to help immensely. So there you have it. Now let's recap on how to stop spending so much money. Number 1, understand your spending habits and determine what triggers you. 2, create a solid financial foundation. Eliminate unnecessary expenses. 4, reduce your grocery bill. Create a meal plan. 5, get on the same page as your partner from a financial perspective. 6, apply the how to stop spending so much money with the 3-day rule. If you love the content, please share it with a friend and subscribe and follow so you get notified of future episodes, and also give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on taking another step to create a financially free life you love. If you're not sure about your financial future or that it's in order, or you are ready to stop worrying about money or possibly the fear of becoming a bag lady, ending up broke in retirement, or you simply are ready to know your financial house is in order so that you can have a bright financial future, please go to themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. And that doesn't stand for non-sufficient funds. It stands for next step finance. It's the next best step of what you need to do so you can avoid an NSF notice in your future. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. The number of women who were not broke or poor while working or married is staggering. The entire mission of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast is to ensure you have the information for you, your family, your friends, anyone who's willing to listen to it and apply it so that you can create a financially free life you love. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. Until our next episode, take one action that will help you create a financially free life you love. I'm Annette Bau, your host. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.